What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 46 of the Whatnauts Review Show. My name is Kyla Springer. That's Melissa Wilkinson.
It sure is.
Yeah. Melissa, how are you?
I'm good today.
Going on? Yeah.
I baked a cake this weekend.
You baked more cake?
I did it again. I made a s'mores cake for my mom's birthday. It is a cake made with graham cracker crumbs, and it has a chocolate marshmallow buttercream. And in between the two layers of cake is like golden, buttery, toasted graham cracker crumbs and like drizzled dark chocolate. Yeah. Yeah. I'm proud of this one.
Amazing.
And I just have to go put the finishing touches on it as soon as we're done recording.
There you go. Sounds mind-blowing.
I hope
Speaking
so.
of mind-blowing, today we are talking about Perfect Blue, which is Satoshi Kon's debut film. I didn't realize it was his debut theatrical film. But yeah, that is the one we are talking about this week. It is an animated movie from 1997, and is I guess it's kind of about this Japanese pop star. She's a J-pop idol who wants to be an actress, so she quits her career as the idol, starts acting and stuff, and then it kind of dives into these themes of identity and who you are, who you say you are versus who you are on camera, and it gets really trippy and really just like, what the hell is going on? And it blurs the lines of what's real and what's not. So if you like mindfucks, I highly recommend this film. It's weird because it's one of those things. It's like you watch the first like 2/3 of the film and you're like, okay, I get what's happening. It is a little bit trippy, but I think I can follow it. And then that last third is just like, what the hell? What is going on? So I'm really excited to talk about this film. This is one of my favorite films of all time.
Oh, nice.
I usually don't spend the time to like rank like this is my number 1 film or this is my number 7 film. But I would definitely at least put this in my top 3.
Ooh.
And I really want to know what Melissa thinks, because I was like, we're gonna do mindfucks. Here's all these really good mindfucks. And then Melissa, you haven't seen this film.
No, this was my first time, and when I was like a preteen, when I'm like 12 years old trying to get into anime, I'd get these anime magazines and they would talk about, Perfect Blue is like an outstanding film, like it's a classic in any genre, in any medium, from anywhere. But I could tell it was like an adult film.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, whenever I'm older, like I'm gonna go track that thing down, and I just never did until you suggested it to me, and I'm like, I put that on my like far-flung future to-do list when I was like 12 years old. It's time to get to that now.
Yeah. The first time I saw anything from Satoshi Kon, I saw his movie Paprika. Which is also, just bonkers. And I saw it 6 months before the movie Inception came out.
Oh, yeah.
And so I saw Inception, and everyone was like, it's a mindfuck. What the hell? It's so trippy. And I was just like, I followed that perfectly. That was easy. Have you guys seen this Paprika? That's like Inception times 10 and on acid. Like,
I've seen bits of Paprika and I get it. It makes Inception look like just a walk in a garden.
Yeah, it's child's play. But so then I was like, who is this Satoshi Kon guy? He's making some good films. And so then I started to check out his other stuff, and I think Perfect Blue was the one I watched next. And Satoshi Kon, I think, is one of my favorite just directors or just storytellers. I don't even know. Because his movie Tokyo Godfathers is also really fantastic. And that's my favorite Christmas movie because it takes place during Christmas. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about this. Did you have any other kind of general impressions that you wanted to?
I will say I think it's a very well executed movie, but it's by no means remotely pleasant. So I appreciate it a lot, but yeah, this is never going on any kind of favorites list of mine. It's not like, oh, it's a nice chill Sunday afternoon. I just want to curl up on the
It's
couch
a
with a
very
movie and a mug of
involved
cocoa.
film.
I'm not going to pick Perfect Blue.
You have to be paying attention. You have to be trying to figure it out, and yeah, it's a lot of work. But there's, like you said, there's a lot in there, and it's executed really well. And I think this is my like sixth or seventh time watching it,
Oh,
and there's still
wow.
more stuff. I'm like, oh, I didn't notice that before. Oh wow,
Hmm.
so that's good. It's fun for me. But yeah, before we get into spoiler stuff, a little bit of housekeeping for
Yeah.
you guys. I think Melissa and I have decided that starting at the end of what month did we decide? My mind just went blank. At
I
the end
think
of
you
March.
decided,
So
yeah, I think you decided like the beginning of April. Yeah.
yeah, end of March, start of April, we are no longer going to be live streaming these episodes of the review show to the public. We will, however, still be live streaming them to our patrons. If you are at the $1 level or above, which is literally all of our patrons, you guys can catch the live stream. And we think it'll be a lot of fun. I mean, it's going to be the exact same thing as this, but we think it makes a little bit more sense to
Yeah.
kind of put that behind the patron paywall, especially just with the type of show this is. It's kind of predicated on the fact that we kind of want you to play along at home. And so if random Joe Schmo just comes to say hi in our stream because they saw our tweet or they saw us on Twitch or something, they might not know what we're talking about. And for the majority of the show, we end up doing spoilers. So yeah, I think starting the end of March, start of April, we will be transitioning these to private live streams. Patreon.com/the Whatnauts is where you can join if you still want to get on these live streams. We will be reminding you guys the rest of this month or so. But yeah, I think that is it. Last week we did an episode on The Artist.
Yes,
Which
yeah,
was
a previous
fantastic.
Oscar winner. So if you watch, as we're live streaming this today, if you watch the Oscars tonight, I think they're tonight, and you're like, what are the movies of the past recent years that I should look back on? It's that one. It's really good. It seems weirdly forgotten about, having only won the Oscar like 6 years ago.
It
But
won all kinds of
yeah,
awards
yeah,
too. So good stuff. It was fun.
good time. Check it out.
Definitely. That being said, I think we are about to get into our spoiler territory. So if you have not seen Perfect Blue, I highly recommend you go track it down somewhere and go watch that. I think Satoshi Kon is a fantastic director, and especially if you are into like trippy psychological thriller stuff, it's good. It's fun. So go check that out. But for now, it's spoiler alert time. There we go. Cool. Where do you want to start? Because I'm most interested in hearing what you think about this film. I have some things that I learned on this viewing that I was like, huh, I didn't know that stuff. So there's always new stuff that I'm like,
I could tell that. Like, this is a movie I know I would have to watch a bunch more times to really get.
yeah. Yeah. It's I think even on this viewing, it's one of those things of course, my first time I watched it, I was old enough to figure it out if I wanted to. It was only like 5 or 6 years ago, so I was in my 20s, but it was still like, or I guess early 20s because I'm still in my 20s now. But like it was one of those things that I was more just of the fact like, oh, it's trippy, this is so what's real, what's not, I don't
Whoa.
know.
Yeah.
And it was just like, that's really cool. And then yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like as I've continued to watch it, just it's like, oh, he's really saying stuff about celebrity and fame. And
Mm-hmm.
like I mean, he made this in 1996 and it came out in 1997, so social media wasn't a thing. But this is
Yeah.
even more just like, this is the one of the huge problems with social media.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's now just like, oh, I see that aspect, or I see this. So lots of stuff, lots of stuff to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Ah. Oh, there's a lot going on. I don't really know where to start. I
So
think. Do you want
let
to
me
start?
ask you this then:
Okay.
where did you think it was going? Like as you were watching this film, what did you think was going to happen?
I underestimated it, and I thought the guy that you think is the villain. And there'll be a lot of stuff along the way, like Mima is her name, right? I didn't write down anybody's
Mima
name.
is her name, Mima.
Okay.
Yeah,
You might have to be the name officer on this one.
she's the only one I know the actual name for.
Like there'd be a lot of stuff with her along the way of figuring out like am I really seeing what I think I'm seeing? uh that web page that he makes for her, she's looking at it like, oh, how did he, who is this, where did this come from, how did they know so much about me? And like as her mind is
Mhm.
kind of breaking down, she's like, did I do this, did I write this? So I figured a lot of twists on the way to where you could kind of tell it was going in the beginning, but those twists you wouldn't know. And then when it starts to look like it really is her, I'm like, well, maybe it is that then. And I really had no idea that at the end of everything, it was her manager that had had some psychotic break and thought she was Mima. That I didn't see coming.
Yeah, it's really strange.
Yeah.
And then there, like, it's even at the end. I'll say this, and this is also one of the things that I noticed. At the end, when she leaves the hospital after visiting her
Yeah.
manager, it seems to be some months later because Mima has longer hair
Yeah.
now. Her manager is in some kind of psychiatric care.
Hmm.
Sounds like she has amnesia or something. But
Yeah.
she's leaving the hospital, and there's a couple nurses who kind of recognize
Yeah.
Mima, but they conclude that no, that can't be her. And like that this idea of like that's not the real her. And then at the end, the last line of dialogue is Mima in her car, looking in the rear view mirror at you, the viewer, and
Hmm.
then like in this like cheeky manner, being
Yeah.
like, "Nope, I'm real." And
Yeah,
then
it's
like
really
that's the
me.
end, and it's this upbeat like
Yeah,
rock
I
song.
actually really liked the ending because all the staff at that care facility are reacting to her because she's clearly some huge star, and they're like, "What's a star that big doing wandering around here? Like we don't have any of her family. Like is that really her? Maybe it's just somebody who looks like her." So it's clear that her career has
Yeah,
skyrocketed, but you don't know what career it is, if she's stuck with the acting or if she went back to being a singer.
I I would say she's stuck with the acting
That's what I
because
would guess too, but
it
it doesn't clearly tell you either way.
it doesn't explicitly say it,
Yeah.
but I think the way the I was gonna say show, but the way the
Mhm.
movie kind of plays on Mima's identity, it
Mhm.
separates the two. Whereas the singing is her past, and that's
Mhm.
what the public knows her as. Or there's that scene right at the start of the film where you see the kind of creepy security guard
Mhm.
guy who we think is the bad guy most of the
Yeah.
time, but he's looking at her like through his vision, and it
Uh-huh.
has like his hand there, and it looks like she's this like miniature doll on his
Yeah.
hand dancing, and that's how
Ugh.
he sees her, and
Mhm.
that's kind of how the public sees her, as this figure. But she wants to change and grow and evolve,
Yes.
and so she's you could say she's becoming more of who she is,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still the same thing where she's on camera, she's being an actor, she's
Yeah.
displaying a certain front, but there's this idea of like you are who like the people remember you as
Mm-hmm.
versus who you want to be. And
Yeah.
so yeah, it's this thing of she has now transitioned and moved on,
Mm-hmm.
but everyone, or not necessarily everyone, but a lot of people are still stuck with her
Yeah.
past work, and that's what they're obsessed about. And so to see her, yeah, now at this new thing, that like that can't be the real her. We don't recognize her because that's
Yeah.
not what we remember her as. So yeah, that's why I would say she's still acting and
Yeah,
modeling and stuff like that.
that's what I would believe too, because this is a movie where um that stalker guy wants to like freeze her and like keep her exactly the way she was. And that's
Yeah,
what her manager kind of wanted to do. Like there needs to be a Mima exactly the way there was a Mima, whether it's you or if it's me, like that needs to be preserved. That is immutable now. Like it's static. It even if it's stagnant, like that cannot change.
yeah,
And she's trying to change and grow. And even if she doesn't like how she has to do it all the time, she really loves acting. Like you can tell that. She doesn't like every scene she has to be in. She doesn't like all the politics that kind of go along with it, but she
hmm,
wants like she made a choice and she wants to stick with it. And at the beginning there's a little bit of like there's the fear to change, but there's also kind of a fear to change back where it is sort of ambiguous like would you rather be like are you just feeling kind of nostalgic or like singing was the safer choice for her to stick with,
yeah,
and even if there were like fights between fans at her concerts, that's still safer than what has been happening to her since she has become an actress where there are literal murders around her.
yeah.
It's like, do you just feel nostalgic? Do you miss your friends? Do you want something easy? Do you want something safe? Do you want to go back to singing? Are you tempted to go back to singing because of that, or because was that your true calling? But now you feel like I made my bed, I have to lie in it. But you really do get the sense, even despite all of that, she does want to be an actress. Like it's
Yeah.
her choice, and there's some pressures to go along with some things, but it's not like, oh, Mima, this is what actresses have to do. Like, you have to do really tough scenes in order to be taken seriously. It's all like kind of logistic stuff. Like, look, I know it's tough for you to do a rape scene, but that's what we wrote, and we're behind schedule, and we don't have time to write something else. And like, it's logical, it's practical. Like, it's her versus the logic and versus like scheduling
it's
and like
it's
mundane things like that. And she's
it's
like,
a
well,
tough scene because it's a
yeah,
little bit of
oof,
both. It's like we
yeah,
know you put this in on purpose because
yeah.
we like you know that I want to be a bigger star, and you know if I do more sex scenes and stuff like that, that's gonna help out. So you put this in, and yes, we know we're on a time budget too, so you put this in and are basically giving us no choice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure she could still absolutely say no, like I'm gonna go back to singing or stop the show. But in the end, acting is what she really wants, and so she's
Yeah.
willing to endure that to further her career.
Yeah, which is the situation sucks. But I
Yeah.
did like that this movie had an element of acting is not just like an art form. It's not just something you do out of like passion and creativity. It's also like co-working with others, and it's a certain degree of cooperation, and it's a certain degree of like good behavior, not in like you have an image to uphold, but like there's schedules to keep to,
Hmm.
when things are set, they're kind of set, to like do your best to cooperate and go with the flow and just sort of you're one piece of a machine and the machine has to keep running.
Yeah.
And I like that there was that element of like there's a lot of practical concerns with what she's doing as well that also kind of well, the writers that was a bad choice, but besides that, but not like the writer of the movie, the writer of the show within
Yeah.
the movie. It's like not a good scene. Don't do that. But that aside, like like there's practical things that she has to keep doing to make this career work.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. And she like it's interesting because even at the start of the film, we're getting those kind of those scenes. Like it's a mix of her just doing everyday things. This is
Hmm.
her normal life. This is what
Yeah.
who she actually is. She's shopping for groceries. She's at home feeding her fish. She's
Hmm.
doing that stuff, and it juxtaposes that with these images of her on stage, song and dance, performing and stuff like that. So it definitely has this theme of like who are you when you're not on camera? You
Yeah.
know, who is the actual persona? Is it the one you put forward, or is it the one you are when you're not performing? And
Hmm.
it's fascinating to see how that goes, how that continues to grow throughout the film. Because yeah, when she's having her kind of crisis of identity of like,
Yeah.
who am I? What do I? Am I even real? Like,
Hmm.
what is this? Um, yeah, it's the same type of thing of just like, who am I the one that I put forward on stage or on
Hmm.
camera or when I'm feeding my fish? Um, what else did you notice about this film?
I was just thinking about a very tiny little detail, which is early in the movie, there's just like a newscaster talking in the background. And he
Mm-hmm.
mentioned something about like a big natural disaster, like some storm or flood or earthquake or something, or
Mm-hmm.
fire. I don't remember what it was, but there's some
Yeah,
big
some
natural
natural.
disaster. Yeah,
Yes.
and like a lot of people have died, and it's just this background sound clip while like Mima is in her apartment. And this is just after she's left her singing career, and nothing's said about it. But I did think about like charity concerts and that sort of thing. Like that's a situation where a musical artist would probably do more than an actor would. Like you can't put on like, it's a celebrity, it's a charity concert. It's a benefit. There's not like it's a charity TV show. It's a benefit
Yeah,
movie. Like she's just in a position where there's less she might be able to
probably more
do.
difficult to round up a bunch of actors and be like,
Yeah.
okay, Shakespeare in the Park for charity,
Yeah,
because they
yeah.
have to memorize all those. It's not
Yeah, it's
prepared
no there's no
material
quick
that they don't,
turnaround or
yeah.
anything.
So yeah, it's something she probably would have done more. I was also
Yeah.
thinking, just as you mentioned it, of just like that's also kind of what she's feeling. Like she just had her life
Yeah,
devastated
yeah.
by by I'm making this big change, and here's
Mhm.
me quitting the band and becoming an actress is like it's shaking up her world. It is an earthquake.
Yeah, and also to some degree like she's doing well for herself. She might be stressed out and feeling a little pressured, but she's alive and well. And
Hmm.
these are all things that like the so she shouldn't feel that bad about herself. Like there's people out there that are dying in earthquakes or something. Like acting is stressful. So what? Grow up and take it on or something. And this is all stuff that is not in the movie. Like this we what we are talking about is like a two-sentence like background sound blurb
Yeah.
of just a news item. But it could mean all of these different things.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. One thing that I learned this watch through, just out of curiosity, I went to look up what her name means.
Oh.
And her name Mima is very, very similar to the word Mina in Japanese, which means
Uh-huh.
everyone.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's this idea like that she is everyone's, or she is the public persona that
Mm-hmm.
like she is the group. It's they there was a certain line in there. I forget where it was, but that's what made me look it up. Where I think they use the word Mina, Minna, and I was like, did they just say her name? Because that would be a weird spot to have her name. And then I looked it up
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, oh, Mina means everything, and her name is really similar to that.
Mm-hmm.
Like almost sounds the exact same. Um, so I thought that was kind of neat. There's so I don't know how much this one applies. This one might be more of a stretch, but the word so her family name is Kirigoi or something
Yeah.
like that. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation, but that the GOE is, it sounds a lot like GOI
Uh-huh.
in English, GOI GOE,
Mm-hmm.
which GOI in Japanese is their word for carp. It's a fish, but
Uh-huh.
that fish like represents prosperity and luck and stuff like that. And the first part of her name, Kiri, represents like finality. Like this is the
Mm-hmm.
end. This is the finale. So it's like this is the end of everyone's prosperity
Oh,
or stuff like
wow.
I don't know
Yeah.
how much that actually applies, but I was like, huh, in a weird way, maybe you can stretch that and make it fit.
Mm-hmm.
Of just this idea of, yeah, when she changes and you don't like it, you know, you're kind of losing. I don't know exactly what you're losing, but maybe Mina herself or Mima herself is losing fans and stuff like that. And again, to go back to that earthquake, it's like she had this big shakeup and people are dying, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, um, so who knows how everything will happen once the dust settles and stuff like that. So I thought that
Mm.
was interesting. Um, Let me ask you this: where do you
Uh,
think the movie gets the name Perfect Blue?
I was gonna ask you what you think about that. Because there is a theme of, to some degree, of perfection. Like the way her
Uh-huh.
fans think of her is that she's just perfect, and she's scared that now if she's doing anything differently, she's tarnished. Like that word comes up over and over again. Like she's trying, like she's tarnished, she's dirty, she's not the person she was anymore. She's an imposter. But the blue imagery, I'm not exactly getting.
So this is one of the things that you have to kind of watch it over and over
Okay.
again to maybe fully understand it. But there is a Satoshi Kon does a lot of things with color in this film. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're not looking for the way he's using this color, you're probably gonna miss it.
Okay.
But Mima, as she thinks of herself, like the real Mima is often pictured in blues, in like blue
Okay.
colors, blue clothes, blue lighting, stuff like that. Whereas this kind of haunting alter ego of the old singer,
Mm-hmm.
Mima, she's often cast in red. Bad
Mm-hmm.
guys are often cast in red. Big, like, not necessarily evil, but big hints about what is actually happening are often cast in red, of just like, hey,
Mm.
pay attention to this thing.
Oh.
um and yeah, there's uh even stuff of like when the movie first starts, it opens up with this like live performance of I forget what they call them in Japan,
It's a
but
Sentai
basically,
show.
yeah, it's the Power
Uh-huh.
Rangers basically. um and the stage that they're on is all lit up in blue.
Hmm.
And then when Cham, the band that she's a part of, when they go on stage, it's the exact same stage. They change the gels on the lights, so it casts this red light on the
Oh.
blue stage. And then the outfits they're wearing have this like red trim and stuff like that. And so it's this fake persona, right? She's on
Mm-hmm.
stage singing and dancing, and then that's when it starts to cut to her everyday life, and she's like in the grocery store, which is a much more cool
It
blue
is,
tones. The
yeah.
milk is blue, or it has the blue label and stuff like that. And as it continues, and as she's having this like crisis of conscious, more and more red starts to seep in and surround her.
Mm-hmm.
You can start to see that like there's more red posters on her wall, or
Oh.
there's certain there's one, she goes back into her room and all the lights are off, but the only color you can see is red. So everything red in her room you can see. And
Mm-hmm.
then there's like one big moment where you see her face, and it's this side view, and the wall right next to her is all red, and it's just like something big is happening here. This is where she's really like splitting in half. And it goes all the way to right after she does the nude photography shoot,
Mm-hmm.
and she comes home and she finds her fish dead,
Yeah.
and she starts crying seemingly about her fish, but then we immediately realize, oh, that's not what she's crying about.
I think she's crying
about
after like they have to film that scene. I think like the photo shoot comes later.
well, yeah, it might, but in the end, it's about being portrayed as this sex symbol,
Yeah.
being in that rape scene,
Mm-hmm.
and whether she did the nude photo shoot before or after, same kind of thing. Like she's not, that's not really what she wants to be
No.
portrayed as, and that's what's making her so emotional. And her room has a lot of red, like her red sheets, her red walls, all that stuff, and she hates it. She's tossing things over, she's turning them, but she's in this like full-on navy blue outfit. And it's just like, that's who she really is, but she's surrounded by all of this stuff that just makes her that this is not what I want. There's another scene, I think, where she's watching. It's one of the scenes where I think she's looking at the website Mima's Room, and she's watching a clip of one of her old performances, and the lights change from blue to red, and immediately when they turn to red, that's when the video starts talking to her of just like, and you think blah 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 blah, and it's like, oh, that's not in the performance, that's what is happening. So there's all sorts of stuff in there like that, and of just this red slowly creeping in or taking up most of the screen, while she is in this small like blue bubble or stuff like that. So
that's neat.
Yeah, and then the end of the movie, of course, like when she says, "No, I'm real," you see her in the rear view, but it's looking out the front of her car, and on this just perfectly blue sky. So blue is kind of like sanity. It's her happiness. It's that type of stuff. It's who she really is. So if she can reach that perfect blue, she'll be, who she wants to be. Stuff like that. So I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, I'd watch the whole thing again just to track that.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't really picking up on it at all. Wow.
Yeah, that was one, like, until recently. I don't think I've seen this. It's been a couple years since I've seen this film. But that's one of the things I saw. There's a whole bunch of stuff on YouTube already about, look at how Satoshi Kon uses all this color and stuff like that. So it's interesting.
Do you think there's any significance to the fact that we don't really see where she lives outside of that room? Like, I think we're in the bathroom briefly once, but we never see like a kitchen or a front door or the outside of it. Like, when we're at her home, we are in that room. Do you think that's just like a practical concern? Like, well, we can only draw so many sets, or was it?
I think it's not so much about we can only draw so many sets, but I think that's just what a lot of little studio apartments look like. They have their however big tatami room. It's a 4x6 tatami room, and that's it. That's their house. That's their bathroom, stuff like that. But yeah, I'm sure you could dig into how claustrophobic it feels and stuff like that. There are scenes that I think like, is she adding stuff? Like, is more and more stuff being put in that
Yeah.
room as it
Ugh.
goes on? I'm not sure if that's actually the case, but maybe you can look at it that way.
Hmm.
But I don't know. Were you thinking it was something
I
related
I
to?
don't know. I just thought it was interesting. And again, I couldn't tell if this was symbolic or if it was just like uh we can't pay the backgrounds team for another couple days to, draw more parts of her apartment, or
Mhm.
maybe they really are that small and she doesn't have a kitchen. She just has like 4 feet of extra wall with a tiny sink and a toaster oven in it. And like why it? Like I couldn't tell if it was practical reasons why we're
Mhm.
always in such a small space, or if it did, it's just more symbolism as to she feels like everything's kind of closing in around her. It's
Could be
about,
that.
this fear of change and things
I'm
becoming stagnant or not.
I'm wondering if it's even just to focus us on her,
Mhm. Yeah.
rather like you don't need to know about the earthquake that
Yeah.
happened in that one thing. You don't need to know who her neighbors are. This isn't about them. This is about who she is on the inside.
Hmm.
Like so I think it kind of forces us to look at her.
Yeah. Or maybe it's like a kind of a comfort thing. Like there's so much in her life that's freaking her out that she doesn't just want to go home. She wants to go to her bedroom specifically, like the safest place inside the safest place.
Yeah.
Like that's she needs that. She can't deal with anything less than
Well,
that.
yeah. I mean, so then once we start to bring in the website idea of
Hmm.
this website, right?
Yeah.
If her room is her safe space,
Yeah.
but then she's having this website literally called Mima's room
Yeah. It's not
invading
called
her life, it
it.
like it's this weird thing of like, this is my private space. How do you know this stuff? How are you making this,
Yeah, it's not called like Mima's house. It's called Mima's room,
Yeah.
which feels more intimate and also like slightly more childlike. When you're a kid, you have a room, one room that's yours.
Yeah.
Now, you're a grown up, like, oh, that's my living room, that's my kitchen, that's my everything else. When you're a
Yeah.
kid, you just have the one thing. And she's pretty young. It doesn't specify how young she is, but I mean, she has these people that are kind of watching over her, like trying to protect her, trying to keep her exactly as she was, to keep her safe, to like, and like the manager is a big advocate for Mina, as the manager as we see her in the beginning, but she's kind of not really letting Mina talk very much in like meetings. Like she's speaking positively for her, but she's
Hmm.
speaking for her. And
Yeah.
Mima just chimes in with a couple sentences at the end.
Yeah. Exactly. I think, um, yeah, it's fascinating, all of the stuff that you can kind of just
Yeah.
like, it's her room, it's claustrophobic, it's how she's feeling, it's
Hmm.
related to the website, it's like you said, I think everything is just so well executed
Yeah.
that it's just like, this is just like, how
Yeah.
like last week when we talked about the artist, one
Mm.
of my complaints was that it was a little bit too long,
Mm.
but I also didn't know how to make it shorter because I
Yeah.
felt like it was so tight that it told the exact story it needed
Hmm.
to. It spent just the right amount of time with the characters, but in the end, I felt it was too long.
Hmm.
This I think is only like 80 minutes long. It's like an hour and 20. Like it's
Yeah,
not
like
long at
85. Yeah.
all. Yeah, and this has just so much jam packed in it, and it tells you
Hmm.
everything you need to know. And it's just
Yeah.
like, how is this even possible?
Yeah, it's very efficient and it has a lot of like very quick edits in it too. This is technically
Yeah,
like such a well executed and like well structured film.
yeah. Um, it's neat because as Satoshi Kon went on to make more and more
Hmm.
movies, he would often have Easter eggs in his movies
Oh.
about the previous ones he did. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Tokyo Godfathers. They're walking by a convenience store and there's a poster for Cham
Oh.
like there and stuff like that. But he does a lot of stuff that happens in the backgrounds or in the
Mm-hmm.
city, stuff you don't notice.
Yeah.
um and again in Tokyo Godfathers, there's a scene where one of the characters is being beat up, and it's on like a still frame, and it looks like a video game as they're fighting. And
Oh.
there's office buildings in the background that have lights on at the top of the screen, like health bars.
Oh,
And
wow.
as the guy is getting beat up, the lights keep going off, and so it looks like he's losing his health. But
Oh.
it's something like, if you're not looking for that, like those small details in there, you're gonna miss them. And
Oh.
it's just like, oh, this is so neat that like all of this stuff is just jam packed in there. um like again at the start of the at the start of the film, right before Cham goes on stage,
Mm-hmm.
um each time it follows, or each time the camera stops and you can hear people at the amusement park talking, they're
Mm-hmm.
always sitting on a red bench. Or if the
Oh.
camera pans somewhere, they're following a guy in like a red hat or like a red
Mm.
sweatshirt. So there's all these like through lines of follow this red thing or do this and that. I think also one of the big, hard to go back to the red stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but when she's first learning about this like fake rape scene that she's gonna
Mm-hmm.
have to do, the book, the
Oh,
script book is in
yes.
bright red, and that's all you
Yeah.
see, that one thing. It's this big script book, and then she puts the book down. It's like, really? Like, this is what
Mm.
you're gonna make me do?
Oh.
um but yeah, like that's the thing of like, hey, something's about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then in that scene when they're filming it, she is in this like red light. She's in this
Mm-hmm.
apron that has like the red frills and stuff
Yeah.
like that, which looks oddly similar to the outfit she was
Yep.
wearing in the concert at the
Mm.
beginning. So that's also kind of a metaphor thing of like, everyone knows her as this one thing, and now this is happening.
Yeah, the
Her
same, like
career is getting fucked.
yeah, she's not changing. She is staying as she was, but getting tarnished,
Yeah,
is like
yeah,
what her kind of spectral vision of herself is telling her.
exactly. So there's tons of stuff in there that's strange. I want to know where you lost the thread. Where were you like? Kyle said this was supposed to be a trippy mind fuck. This is fine. And then when was the moment you were just like,
Oh,
wait a minute,
I
where am I? What is going on?
I think maybe when it like starts repeating itself, like she has that little tea meetup with
The
her
dream
manager,
sequence
and
thing where
like
you're
then
not
it
sure.
happens
Yeah,
again. And she's like, haven't seen you in so long. And her manager's like, I was here yesterday. And she's like, oh, so that was real then?
yeah. And then it's one of those things where at the end of it you hear like, okay, cut, and it's like, wait,
Yeah.
was that the movie?
Yeah. And
What
like,
was that, the TV show? Is she dreaming that she's in it? Is this what is going on?
yeah. In the scene where it's like, no, there's just like a weird honk outside my window. Don't mind that. Just some big mystery car. The scene where it's like the detective characters from within the drama series she's in, and they're looking at her not as the character she's playing, but like as herself. Like, oh yeah, she invented that alter ego
Yeah,
of an actress, and she's just playing a role where she has to do all this dark stuff to hide, to sort of compartmentalize that stuff away from her real life. Like, I didn't really do that. I'm an actress, and I had to be a character that was doing that.
yeah.
That
Once you start to realize that the show she's making, Double Bind, is a mirror of everything that's happening to her, then it's like, wait a minute, is she talking to them about what's actually happening in her life, or is this the movie? Is her what we think as her real life, is that the movie? Like,
Yeah.
what is going on?
I was fascinated by the entity of Double Bind itself because at the
Hmm.
beginning, it seems like a really true, fleshed out TV show. Like you
Yeah,
see it so briefly, but just from like the couple lines you get from like the because she's a guest star, the couple lines you get from the main characters of the show, like it feels like we are just dropped into one episode of a real crime drama. Which
yeah.
I liked. I like that it's there for such a short time, but it feels like a very real show. And I wanted to learn more about that other actress who plays the main character on the show.
Hmm.
And I wanted there to be more interactions between Mima and her, or some moment where Mima's like, did you have to do stuff like this when you were coming up? Like, the screenwriter wants me to do this. Did he ever make you do something like that? Like, I wanted something like that. But this movie
You
is
just get the
not,
cryptic, weird, like,
the
what
movie
is
is
going on?
the movie is not here to give you peace of mind.
No, not at
Like
all.
that's not remotely one of its
Not at all.
concerns. And that's what I wanted, even if not just peace of mind, just like more clues. Like she has so much bad stuff happen to her once she becomes an actress. I wanted to hear from another actress to see like,
Yeah.
is this like is Mima just having some
One
terrible string of luck? Is this did she wander onto like did she accidentally get cast on what was a problematic show to begin with? Like at what point did things is everything turning because Mima is there? Or
Yeah.
what was the show like before she got there?
Interesting. I think the one interaction they have that I think is a real interaction is when they pass in the
Yeah.
hallways and Mima calls her the name of her character in
Yeah.
the show, and she goes, "Oh, I'm not that character anymore." And then she says this weird cryptic thing to Mima. That's something along the lines of, "Pretty soon you're gonna have to stop dreaming."
Mm-hmm.
And
It,
again, it's this like that works. Like I could understand that being said to someone in showbiz. Like you need
yeah.
to be realistic, and you can't just have these high. Like you need to get what is
Yeah.
given to
And
you,
she's
kind
saying
of
it
thing.
like kind offhanded, like a joke, just like, oh, it's not me anymore. You better wake up, kid. Into the
Yeah,
workday. Like,
but then we also have this extra layer of
yeah.
we as a viewer are lost. We don't know if she's dreaming because she's
Mm-hmm.
mentioned that there's been a couple, I think, dream sequences.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah.
don't know what's real. So is she dreaming? And for the character to just like to almost break the fourth wall in that
Yeah.
sense and just be like, pretty soon you're gonna have to stop dreaming. It's like again, just like I don't understand what is happening.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's
Yeah.
strange.
Yeah. Mima has so few like rocks in her life. Like she doesn't really have anybody she can count on. She thinks she can count on the manager who
No
winds up
anchors.
being her worst enemy. But this other actress on set, she mentions that she admires, she looks up to. And I wanted just a tiny bit more of that, of her like reaching out, like, hey, I'm really stressed out by everything. Have you ever felt like this? Like, how do I get to where you are now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But again, that would offer some semblance of safety and comfort in this movie,
and there
which
is
isn't the
none.
point.
Every time you think you know what is happening, something else, something that because I watched a couple of these YouTube videos after I watched this, just like let me refresh my memory and think of some more things we can talk about. One thing that I don't think I would have thought of or noticed in a million years. There's a scene where she's on the phone with her mom, right?
Yes.
She
Yeah.
turns on the bath water, and then her mom calls, and there's scenes of her talking with her mom, and you can hear her mom.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden, there's scenes where the mom isn't responding, and she's carrying the conversation on as
Huh.
if the mom is saying stuff, but we as the viewer don't hear what the mom is saying.
Mm.
And I think this was also in one of the videos where they were mentioning the colors and stuff like that. Goes, yeah, the scenes where you can see, like, where you can hear the mom reply is like her normal room. There's some blue light. We see her from a certain angle. Then when we don't hear her mom, the first time is from a different angle. It's more red light, and then the next time is this like overexposed, like just very very bright stuff like that. And it's yeah, like it's one of those weird things. It's like, huh, for as technically good as this film is, you don't think there would be just a small scene like that where they colored it wrong, or they did, so it's just like, this looks overexposed compared to everything else. And he was like, yeah, that's because this whole thing is fake. This whole conversation that she's having where her mom does not respond doesn't happen.
Ooh.
She's making it up, like, in her mind. And I was just like, oh, what the hell? Like, and it's a scene like before we really know that there's anything sinister going on, or she's not really having her overt crisis of identity yet. And so it's just this weird thing, like, if you pick up on it, if you notice, she's already gone.
Yeah. Ooh, wow. Yeah, her descent starts very early. We can almost know, like, normal status quo Mima before everything starts to go downhill.
Yeah.
There's very little.
You get a couple foothold.
Yeah, you get a couple little flashbacks, but there's not very much to compare her to, or like set, like there's no constant, like there's no, the version of the experiment where there are no variables and it's just normal. Like, yeah, we don't have anything to compare to, which I guess contributes to the kind of mystery and ambiguity of the entire movie.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know when Mima has gone off the rails because we haven't seen her on the rails that much.
Yeah. Very true.
This is a movie.
Go ahead.
No, this is a movie that has a very unreliable narrator in Mima. Like, you figure out pretty quickly that not everything Mima is encountering is exactly true to life. And there's a lot of fantasies, and there's a lot of dreams and like little bits of flashbacks in there. But sometimes the movie cuts away from her entirely, and it follows like those three fans like talking about her pop idol career.
Yeah.
And as the movie went on, I became more interested in them, and they have no identities, like no names, no characters. It's just like cutting away to the voice of the people.
Yeah.
And the longer the movie went on, I'm like, I think everything these guys do, we can count on. Like, it seems like they are real. They are true. Everything they are saying is fact, and it's not terribly important fact. It's just like, so we're going to the concert of the last two members of Cham. We heard rumors Mima might be here, but who knows? And you see Mima there, but like the spectral form of Mima, and you think it's just that stalker guy with the camera and the audience imagining that she's there. She's not really there.
Well,
but
what's also neat is that when it's just the only two singing, the song they're singing is kind of about Mima. I mean, it can apply to her. And they're like dancing formation. They're both on the sides of the screen. They like leave space in the middle for where Mima would be. And the colors they're wearing are very primary colors. It's like
one's
blue and
green.
Yellow, and then there's no red.
Yeah,
like,
one's wearing
that's
green,
the
one's
one they're
wearing
saving
blue, and like there's
for Mima.
Yeah, there's like a space left for her. There's a part of the color wheel like left for her. And yeah, I was very curious how those two remaining band members, like,
They would do.
Yeah, they seem perfectly happy from Mima's perspective, and we've learned we cannot really trust Mima's perspective. So are they doing in reality as well as it looks like they're doing.
Well, they did finally get on the charts without
That's a
her.
fact, yeah.
So we know as much as people liked Cham and liked Mima, they weren't terribly popular.
Mm-hmm.
They were well known, but didn't have any chart topping singles.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. We have the proven fact of that they got a single on the charts and the girls look happy,
But that's it.
but yeah,
We don't know.
how
We
much
don't know
do
if
we
they
really
actually
know?
are.
Mm.
So I wanted to kind of briefly talk about this because we mentioned that in today's age with social
Mm-hmm.
media, there's this weird thing of a lot of times people run multiple accounts, or they do some kind of role play account, or they
Yeah.
build up some kind of internet persona. And even here on the podcast, like I'm sure there's people out there who feel like they know us
Mm-hmm.
just because they've listened to all the episodes, or something. And to kind of juxtapose that, where you feel like this is, at least from my perspective, like this is kind of just what I put forward on camera. Like this isn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily the real me, or
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. But then looking at stuff like George Lucas, where
Uh-huh.
he put out this product, the population got a hold of it, right? And then he went back to change some things, and everyone was like, "No, what the hell? You can't do that. You can't add this scene into Star Wars. Han shot first. What the hell?"
Yeah.
So where, like, I guess I kind of want to talk about that whole thing, because in Mima's case, the product is herself.
Yes.
It's a product nonetheless, but
Mm-hmm.
being her, like, since it is herself, does she still have the right to change that? Whereas
Yeah.
with other works of art, like if some famous painter went back to go change one of his paintings or something, they'd be like, whoa, this is like all of the pictures we have of the Mona Lisa have always looked like this, and now you're changing it. No.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, like that's why people are still clamoring for the original, like, Blu-ray release of Star Wars, because we don't
Yeah.
have that.
Mm-hmm.
We have the fixed ones, right? So
Yeah.
is there a line in there? Is it okay that Mima is changing herself? Is it okay that George Lucas goes back and changes Star Wars to whatever the fuck he feels like? I mean, it's an interesting thought, because they're both products, but one is
Mm-hmm.
a person.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this movie would not have worked as
Dogs.
Oh, we have to cut it out. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
I think this movie would not have worked as well if it was an actress trying to become a singer, because the transition she's making now is that she's putting forth an image of Mima that isn't exactly Mima, but it is still a Mima. She's
Uh-huh.
more or less herself, and she's going to be an actress, and there isn't a Mima anymore, really. It's this role, this role, this role, and the roles are determined by the writers and the producers and the schedule and things like that. So
Uh-huh.
she's losing a lot of, like, she's trying to find her identity by losing her identity,
Yeah.
which, so she's losing parts of herself, but I can also see, like, the pop star might have to be seen like, oh, I wearing certain clothes, buying certain brands, something like that, because there's not really a clear delineation. You're kind of one thing all the time.
Yeah.
The actress is like,
Listen, you've
oh,
gone a little robot-y on me.
oh, you
Oh.
froze up for a sec too.
Well, now you have some black. Oh, there you go. Fixed itself. Cool. I think we're
Oh,
back
okay,
to
all
normal.
right, okay, good. But
I missed the last part of what you said there.
when she's a pop idol, she's kind of, there's less of a delineation between her being on and being off. And there's more of that when she's an actress. So when she is working, she has less of a sense of identity. But when
Hmm.
she's not working, it feels like she is more free to be more of a real person
Yeah.
because she doesn't necessarily have an image to uphold. That image
Right.
kind of isn't there anymore because it's like, I'm this role this week, I'm this role, I'm that character. Like everything's different. Like there's less of a constant one thing to uphold.
That's true.
So I can see that she's becoming an actress to try and make things a little bit more
Clear for
comfortable for
herself.
herself.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's less for her to hold on to. She has to supply her own everything to hold on to, and it's not there and it's not working.
Yeah. I
Hmm.
I I think it would have been more of a George Lucas situation if she quit the band and then like re-recorded all of the songs she
Yeah.
made with Jam as a solo
Hmm.
singer.
Hmm.
Like what if Justin Timberlake, did a new rendition of "Bye Bye Bye," but it's only him, and he adds like a new part or a new
Ooh.
verse. Like what is happening?
Yeah. Oh, that even as you describe this, it sounds unsettling.
Now you understand why we don't like George Lucas.
I've I don't put a lot of stock in Star Wars. I mean, it wasn't something I grew up with, so like I like it, but I have no personal stakes in it at all. It doesn't matter to me what actually happens. It's like, oh, fun space adventure, cool. But the fact that he had all of this money and he could do anything he wants with it, but he just wants to go back to this movie he made years ago, and he's like, I always wished it would have had more rocks. And now I can put more rocks in it is like just charming to me. Like, oh, you didn't like spend your money on three tigers and a gold yacht. You're like, what if Jabba had another singer? It's like, oh, that's kind of sweet.
He ruined Han's character. Anyways, yeah, I think that stuff is interesting to think about. It's strange
Yeah.
that not only is it a really trippy movie, um, and says a lot about like Japan and kind of
Hmm.
post World War II Japan and this
Hmm.
like blossoming new age of having the female pop idol,
Yeah.
right? Um, and then it's only kind of grown in relevance, which is really
Mhm.
funny because the internet in this thing is a brand new
Yes.
thing for her. She's like,
Yes.
I don't know what this interweb thing is.
Yeah, like she doesn't understand internet. She doesn't understand computers because it's 1997,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Um, but then it's only more relevant now
Hmm.
with the internet and with social media in particular. And it like to see a film like that, not necessarily prophetically, but just like it just happened to get more and more relevant as time went on. Just like,
Hmm.
whoa, this is really
Yeah,
creepy.
I I thought about like modern technology and media and how it almost might have like helped Mima if she had it, because like we have verified accounts. Like nobody is there to verify or unverify the Mima's Room website. But if this was modern times, she could know this one is me for sure. Look, there's a little check mark. That means it's me. They take these things
Yeah.
seriously. Or if she like there's the blog post pictures of her like at the supermarket and she's like or no, she goes shopping in Harajuku. She's like, "Well, I guess I went shopping today." Like she just has one other account to rely on. Whereas nowadays, there might be pictures of her like, oh, I spotted that pop singer out shopping today. She could find like three other pictures. She's like,
Yeah.
okay, I did go shopping today. All right. It's not just her versus one thing. Like there's more accounts. And I wonder if that might have been helpful to her.
Who knows?
Like things like
Maybe.
social media can be very
She
oppressive, but I can understand how it also might be a benefit to her in having because she's so isolated and she has so few people she can rely on.
yeah.
If you widen the net, it could make it worse, but it could make it better.
She just didn't really take any ownership of
Yeah.
she was creeped out by it and confused on how
But didn't
whoever was
do
making
anything
but
about it.
didn't do
Yeah.
anything, and then continued to go back there and be like, well, I guess I went shopping. I guess, huh? Okay.
Yeah, like
Well.
she's so lost that she looks at this fake blog written about her and she takes it as like kind of a fact.
What
Weird.
the weird thing is that all of this stuff in there was factual. Like
Mhm.
it's not even like, I didn't go to King's Dominion today. That's weird. Like, why would they say that? I hate roller coasters. It's the exact opposite, where it's like, how do they know I always use
Yeah.
my right foot to go off of trains?
Yeah. And
That's
like
weird. Like,
that
that's something I don't tell anyone, you know?
exactly. And like that gave it okay, so this whole movie comes down to like mental problems. Like she doesn't understand what's going on because she's kind of losing her mind, and there's people around her that also are kind of losing their mind. And the stalker is saying things that he could observe about her, but the whole thing of like, I always step out with this foot first. It's like,
Every
how
now and
do
again, there's a thought of like, I thought this, and it's like, how did you know I thought that?
exactly. And like you figure out that the manager is probably feeding him this information, but how would she know all of that to tell him to put on the website? Is she just that astute and that observant and that like quietly obsessed with tracking everything Mima does that she's like, yes, I have noticed that she always steps out with her right foot. She said she was thinking this, but I really know she was thinking this. Like,
Yeah. It's creepy.
where does all like you can guess that all of that information just came from observation, but it's still like, ooh, like that's almost impossible for somebody to know.
Yeah.
Huh.
Creepy stuff. You want to know something even creepier?
What?
While this movie was being made, this exact thing happened in real life.
What?
The singer Bjork, I believe is how you say it. The like BJORK.
Yeah, I know the story.
Some weird stalker sending her videos, wanting her to not. I'm not sure exactly what happened. Happened in 1996 while this movie was being made.
Yeah.
And it's literally about the same thing, and it's just like, what? Why is this? How did they know? Why?
It's not super similar. I do know this story, and I think it was a fan that just became obsessed with her and would like send her all these letters and all of these videotapes, and like wanted to go like maybe kill whoever she was with at that time, and maybe
he
kill
wanted
her.
to kill her.
Yeah,
He made some kind of like custom bomb in a package thing.
Yes.
So the whole thing of
That's
Mima
right.
getting the like exploding letter is like, I mean, it's not exactly one for one. This is what happened, and we're retelling that, but it's just like that same type of thing. There was a fan who was obsessed and didn't, had this perfect image in their mind and didn't want them to change. Weird.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. But I think that's about all I have to say on film.
Like I said, this isn't exactly a fun, pleasant watch. It's rough in points, but it's very effective at what it wants to do. Like, as rough as it gets, it's kind of admirable that it can execute this plan, and everything serves this plan. Like I said, I think it's very well structured. It's technically very impressive. It still looks great.
Shout out to the animation as well. That's something we didn't really talk about, but there's I mean, this is like old school animation and stuff, but there's scenes where she's like running down the stairs, and you can tell like they really studied to get that just right, if not took video and did all that, because it looks amazing. Whereas a lot of this stuff nowadays doesn't look like that, doesn't have that same lifelike quality to the way people move and stuff like that. And just like, wow, this is so neat. It's so good to see stuff that has that much detail.
The music's good too. Like, it has a very good like repeated musical hit for whenever it's like building tension up. It's
Good
good.
stuff. It's fun.
It's impressive on a lot of fronts.
Fun stuff. If you had to recommend some other things to people who
Ugh.
liked this, what would you recommend?
Oh, I didn't even think of anything this week.
I would
Do you
obviously
have one?
more of Satoshi Kon's work.
Yeah.
Uh, Tokyo Godfathers is a lot more lighthearted,
Hmm.
not as much of a mind trip, but there's a little bit of that stuff in there. But it is also more of a Christmas movie. I
Yeah, it's
watch
like a
it
little bit
during
more
Christmas. It's good.
warm-hearted. Yeah.
It's fun. Yeah.
Hmm.
If you want more of his like trippy stuff, Paprika I think is one of his ultimate just like what
Hmm.
is happening, what is going on here.
Yeah.
um that's insane. um what else. I guess the other things I tried to pitch last week, I think you might like some of that
Yeah.
stuff. uh Mr. Robot, I've
Hmm.
only seen the first season of that. I think there's 2 or 3 seasons now. But that is kind of along the same kind of mind trippy
Hmm.
stuff going on there. You're not really sure what's real. Um, what else did I pitch? What was the other one? Legion.
Legion, yeah.
Yeah, that one's also uh, very trippy. I don't know what is happening there. I guess it's less about themes of identity, but maybe it is because it's about a guy who has multiple
Hmm.
um, personalities, and each of his personalities has a mutant X gene. It's based off of a Marvel
Hmm.
comic character. It's interesting. And Aubrey
Hmm.
Plaza, I remembered her name this time,
Hooray!
is in it, and she's fantastic.
Hmm.
Um, I would also say, so I haven't seen Black Swan yet,
Yeah.
but apparently Black Swan is very closely related to this film. I think I called it basically a remake when I was
It
pitching this,
uh
but it's not exactly. But I know there are some shot for shot like this was
I'd buy that.
exactly.
Yeah. I have not seen Black Swan. I had some friends that were really into that movie, like when it
Mhm.
came out, and so I'd hear them talk about it, and I'd see like stills and gifs from the
The
movie, and I
one,
think it's about.
go ahead.
Hmm? I
Go
think it's
ahead.
about a woman who I think it's about a woman in a ballet company that wants the lead role and like pushes herself so far training trying to get the lead role that then she kind of cracks and starts to like overanalyze the everybody else around her like are you really my friend or are you going to come and try and take this role away from me? I think it's something like that. It isn't I don't think it's operating with quite as much like plot wise as Blue
From
as
what I
Perfect
understood
Blue is,
from the
but yeah.
trailers and what I heard, there are still some themes of like identity and who you
Mhm.
are, and just like
Yeah.
are you going to change and evolve? Is this whole thing real? Am I making it up? But I think it's the scene in the bathtub
Mhm.
is the one that's like shot for shot
That makes sense.
remake.
That sounds familiar.
Where in this movie, Minma, it's after she calls her mom, she gets in the bath and she is basically in the fetal position, and she just like
Yeah.
lies like face down in like is submerged in this water. And I've seen the GIF comparisons, and it's like shot for shot. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
I can definitely see how this would lead to a Black Swan. And I thought of one. I thought of a recommendation.
Go for it.
Birdman.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet.
Birdman's nifty. I might pitch it sometime. I haven't seen it since it was in theaters, but I
I've heard
remember being
incredible
pretty impressed
things.
by it. Yeah, it's about an actor who is like a big blockbuster like superhero franchise actor and like that career crashed and burned and now he's trying to like star in and direct a Broadway play but the specter of the Birdman superhero he used to play is like following him around and it is
Haunting
pretty
him and
ambiguous about what's really
interesting.
going on and what's in his head. Yeah.
Sweet.
Mhm.
Sounds good. I think those are all good recommendations. Melissa, it is your turn to do
It
the pitches for
is.
this next week.
Yeah, and for the first time in months, I don't have any theme. It's just an assortment of things. The theme is stuff I should have gotten to by this point already, and I didn't.
The theme is assortment.
The theme is miscellaneous. So if you feel like another mind fuck week after week, pitch number one is The Prestige.
Ooh, okay. I had seen
Yeah,
that one.
the 2006 film directed by Christopher Nolan. A period thriller set in Edwardian London where two rival magicians feud bitterly after one of them performs the ultimate magic trick, teleportation. His,
Ultimate magic trick.
his rival tries desperately to uncover the secret of his routine, experimenting with dangerous new science as his quest takes him to the brink of insanity and jeopardizes the lives of everyone around the two of them.
Yep.
I saw this in theaters and I liked it, and I think I mostly got it. I think I got like 90% of it, and like I understood the ending, but I'm like, well, how did everything fit together to get to the ending? Because it's very twisty. And I've been meaning to sit down and like, okay, you're an adult now. You're no longer 16 years old. You're smarter. You can do this. Like, sit down and watch the whole thing beginning to end.
Oh
And
man.
I
I feel like if
caught
that
a
was me, I'd be
couple
setting
minutes,
myself
a
up
couple
for
minutes.
disappointment.
I caught a couple
You're
minutes of this.
smarter now, Kyle. You're smarter. You can do this. 2 hours later, God damn it, I'm not smarter. Fuck.
A friend of mine was watching this like while I was at their house last week, and I
Uh-huh.
saw just a couple minutes in the middle. I'm like, I forgot how many people were in this. I
Yeah.
forgot, like, I remember David Bowie was in it, but I forgot Scarlett Johansson and Andy Serkis was in it. How could I forget Andy Serkis was in something? So I gotta revisit this movie because there's
We
a
didn't
whole
really
lot
know
going
Andy
on.
Serkis as an actual like Andy Serkis as Andy Serkis. We always knew him as like
I
the
watched-
gorilla or Gollum or
Well, I was
some
a big Lord of the
creature.
Rings nerd and watched all the behind the scenes footage, so I knew an Andy Serkis.
There you go.
If I forgot he was in this, what else have I forgotten about this movie? And pitch number two is Mob Psycho 100. This is an anime.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
This and I'm pitching the first season, which is about 12 episodes long. This is from 2016. This is one of my roommate's favorite anime. She's not home often, but when she is, she wants to sit me down and show me at least the first episode of everything she likes. So we watched the first episode of this and I really liked it. And she's like, "Do you want to watch more?" And I'm like, "Let me pitch this on the podcast sometime, and then we'll see if I am obligated to watch it one week or if it's something you and I can go through together at our own pace sometime."
If I'm
This
not
is a neat
mistaken.
show.
I was gonna say, if I'm not mistaken, this is by the same guy who does One Punch Man, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think this was the project he was more attached to and hoped would take off, but didn't do as well as One Punch Man.
Well, if you've seen the original comics of One Punch Man, he is not good at art.
Yeah, it's just
That is like a
Basically.
drawn on note paper. Like I just made a comic while sitting in math, you know.
Yeah, I watched the first episodes of both, and I did like the pilot of Mob Psycho 100 more. So
Okay.
this is about an average middle school boy who he's just really normal, bland, has like no personality to him at all,
Sounds like me.
but he has incredible psychic power, and
Also sounds like
he
me.
has become the exactly like you. And he has become the apprentice to this other psychic who is an absolute sham, but is trying to convince this young kid that he is a completely real psychic, so that
Okay.
then the kid's family will keep paying him for psychic lessons. And so they go out and they encounter like all of these monsters that the kid is like psychically fighting. And the main guy, you know, the mentor is like, "Well, I took care of most of him for you, and you just went in there and just sort of finished off the work for me. I'm really glad you were there to finish it off, but you couldn't have done it unless I loosened the lid of the jar for you." And it's about that pair going around like trying to figure out supernatural mysteries.
Okay. Sounds
It's fun. And pitch number three is a graphic novel. This is The Adventure Zone. Here There Be Gerblins. Are you familiar with The Adventure Zone?
I've heard of it.
This is a podcast where the three McElroy brothers and their
That's right.
dad play Dungeons and Dragons together. It's a live play of that, and it became this huge thing. And it got so popular that they worked on a graphic novel adaptation of it. So this is by the four McElroys and artist Carrie Peach, and it is a graphic novel adaptation of the first arc of this D&D game that they podcasted. And it's not just the fantasy story itself, it's the meta story as well of
Interesting.
here's Griffin, the DM, getting his family through this adventure.
Okay.
And I've listened to the whole podcast. I love it, but I've not sat down and read the graphic novel adaptation yet.
Cool.
This is pretty new, so I don't know like how digitally accessible it is though. I'm lucky enough that my roommate had a copy.
Gotcha. Let's see. Those are all good picks. Of first one was the Prestige.
Mm-hmm.
Second one was Mob Psycho 100. Third one was the Adventure Zone.
Yes.
Boy.
What do you feel like? Magic, psychics, and wizards and things. There's no normal option for you to pick, Kyle.
I've been wanting to find a new anime to watch.
Okay.
So I think I'm gonna go with Mob Psycho 100.
Awesome.
I don't know anything about it other than that one little factoid that I had that it's by the same guy who did One Punch Man. Besides that, I know nothing, so I'm going in blind.
Yeah, and I know nothing beyond the pilot of it. So this will be
Cool.
a neat journey for both of us.
Yeah, and you said it was about 12 episodes?
Yeah, it's 12
12 or
episodes
13,
and it's
something like
on, yeah, I think it's 12 and it's on Crunchyroll.
Cool.
It's pretty easy to
good
get to.
me. There you go. If you didn't know, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Whatnauts Review Show. New episodes come out every Wednesday. However, if you want to get your hands, your grubby little mitts on these episodes early, you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/thewhatnauts for just a single... Did I say that right? Patreon.com/thewhatnauts.
Sounds right to me.
Yeah, cool. I was like, whoa, wait a minute, you fucked that up, but I guess not. But you can support us there for just a single dollar, and you will get access to all of our shows early. We mentioned at the start of the show, or I guess at our like spoiler alert section, we are at the end of April, start of
Nope.
end of March. I fucked that one up. At the end of March, start of April, we are no longer going to be live streaming these. We normally have live streamed these every Sunday at noon. That's the same time we're going to keep recording these, but now you can get the live streams only if you are a patron. So again, patreon.com/thewhatnauts, and you can support us for a single dollar. And you can get the live streams, you can get these episodes early, so on and so forth.
Yeah, we are quietly working on bulking up that Patreon.
Exactly. Speaking of that, I have 2 more episodes of the X-Files thing.
Okay,
Our first patron-only exclusive episode. I think this is the first time we're actually announcing what we're doing. Surprise, everyone!
Right.
Pretty soon here in the next couple weeks, we're going to have our first patron-only exclusive episode of the Whatnauts Review Show. It'll be similar but different.
Yeah, we're doing
the same
basic
time.
Review show format, but it's just on more curated, more specific things that are less easy to communicate to you across the normal podcast format where we're watching this movie, season 1 of this, first 2 volumes of this graphic novel.
Yep.
We want it to be like kind of odder combinations of things if we would like to do them. And we are starting with 4 one-shot Monster of the Week episodes of X-Files, which are all by the same writer.
There you go. If you guys want more information about that, you can hit us up on Twitter at the Whatnauts, or you can just subscribe to our Patreon, and we will let you know all the information when you guys do all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, Melissa, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at WilkyWit. That's WilkyWit. Come see pictures of this cake and other desserts I'm working on.
There you go. I'm at Yo Kyle Springer on both Twitter and Instagram. You can also find me blogging at Kyle's Room. I'm just kidding. It's like I don't know how all that stuff gets up there, but it's right. I don't know.
I did go to the store today. I did drink that smoothie.
Yeah, I did have a smoothie today, didn't I? No, but yeah. So you can find me at Yo Kyle Springer on Twitter and Instagram. Again, updates for this podcast or any of our other shows at the Whatnauts on Twitter. We will see you next week with Mob Psycho 100. Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. Season 1 of Mob Psycho 100. We will see you guys then. Adios.
Bye.
Thank you for watching that episode of the Whatnauts Review Show. Go click the button here in the center to subscribe to our channel. Check out all of our other videos, or you can watch whatever video YouTube wants you to watch, or our most recent upload. Go check it out, party people. Adios.